The palace wall, usually echoing with polite chatter and the clinking of champagne flutes, now vibrated with a different kind of tension. The air was thick with unspoken anxiety, the kind that cling to silk curtains and whisper through the manicured gardens. A statement, carefully worded and meticulously crafted, had just been released, and the reverberations were already shaking the foundations of the monarchy. The subject? Queen Camilla's future role. On the surface, it was innocuous enough. A reaffirmation of the royal family's commitment to service and a nod to the evolving needs of the institution. But beneath the veneer of diplomatic language, a quiet power play was unfolding, a subtle but unmistakable redrawing of the lines of succession and influence. The architects of this shift? None other than Prince William and Princess Catherine, the future king and queen, seemingly poised to seize the narrative and steer the monarchy in their own direction. For Camilla, it was a blow, a cold splash of reality. After years of painstakingly building her reputation and securing her place in the royal hierarchy, from the moment she officially became part of the family in 2005, she had navigated a treacherous path, battling public distrust and erasing years of scandal to emerge as a respected and, dare we say, even beloved figure. She had earned her stripes, proving her dedication to duty and her unwavering support of King Charles. But now, it seemed, all that hard work was about to be undermined. The timing of the announcement spoke volumes. With King Charles and Princess Catherine both battling cancer, the monarchy was facing a period of unprecedented vulnerability. William and Catherine, stepping into the spotlight to fill the void, were clearly signaling their intent to shape the future on their own terms. While some royal commentators lauded this as a necessary move to protect the long-term stability of the institution, others saw it as a calculated maneuver, a way to settle old scores and cement their own power. The whisper started almost immediately. Had William truly forgiven Camilla for her role in his parents' tumultuous marriage, or were the wounds still festering, driving him to subtly diminish her influence? The palace insiders, those shadowy figures who thrive on gossip and speculation, claimed that William had made his intentions clear in recent interviews, stating that he envisioned a monarchy led by younger royals, those who could connect with the public on a more personal level. Camilla, with her traditional approach and her history steeped in scandal, simply didn't fit the mold. The image of Camilla, the woman who had weathered so many storms, now facing this new challenge, was a poignant one. After years of fighting for acceptance, she was now being relegated to the sidelines, her hard-won position threatened by the very man who should have been her ally. The irony was inescapable. She had conquered public opinion, won over the queen, and even seemed to have forged a fragile peace with William himself. But now, it appeared, all that goodwill was about to evaporate. The battle lines were drawn, not in a blaze of open conflict, but in the hushed tones of palace corridors and the carefully crafted language of official statements. William and Catherine, with their youthful energy and their modern vision, were ready to usher in a new era. But in doing so, were they sacrificing the wisdom and experience of those who had come before them? And more importantly, were they underestimating the resilience and determination of Queen Camilla, a woman who had never backed down from a fight? The stage was set for a royal showdown, a battle for the soul of the monarchy, fought not with swords and shields, but with words and deeds. The argument, as insiders reported, had been volcanic. Charles, ever the diplomat, attempted to mediate, to reason with his headstrong son. He spoke of experience, of the invaluable knowledge accumulated over decades of royal service. Sidelining Camilla, he argued, was akin to throwing away a perfectly good map just because a newer, shinier GPS had come along. William, however, remained unmoved. His vision was clear, unclouded by sentimentality or tradition. He saw the monarchy not as a museum piece to be preserved in amber, but as a living, breathing organism that needed to adapt to survive. The younger royals, with their social media savvy and their relatable personality, were the key to that survival. They could bridge the gap between the palace and the people, fostering a sense of connection that had been eroding for years. Camilla, listening to this exchange, felt a familiar sting of injustice. She had worked tirelessly to modernize her own image, to connect with the public in meaningful ways. She had championed literacy programs, supported victims of domestic violence, and even embraced social media, albeit with a certain degree of reluctance. To be dismissed as an irrelevant relic was a bitter pill to swallow, but it was William's suggestion of retirement that truly stung. The comparison to Prince Philip, banished to Wood Farm in his twilight years, was a deliberate barb. It was a clear message that her time was up, that she was no longer needed or wanted. The thought of fading into obscurity, of watching from the sidelines as William and Catherine reshaped the monarchy in their image, was unbearable. The awkwardness that followed was palpable. Charles, sensing the depth of Camilla's hurt, attempted to salvage the situation. He praised her dedication, her unwavering support, and her invaluable contributions to the monarchy. But his words rang hollow, failing to mask the underlying reality. William had spoken, and his decision was final. Later that evening, Camilla found herself alone in her private chamber, the opulent surroundings offering little comfort. The weight of history, the burden of expectation, pressed down on her like a physical force. She thought of Diana, of the woman who had haunted her for so many years, and wondered if this was some kind of karmic retribution. Was she destined to always be the outsider, the unwelcome guest, forever paying the price for the sins of the past? But as the night wore on, a flicker of defiance began to ignite within her. She had faced adversity before, had overcome obstacles that seemed insurmountable. She had weathered public scorn, media scrutiny, and the constant shadow of Diana's memory. She was a survivor, a fighter, and she wasn't about to surrender without a fight. She thought of Queen Elizabeth, the woman who had initially disapproved of her relationship with Charles, but had eventually come to respect and admire her. Elizabeth had recognized Camilla's strength, her resilience, and her unwavering commitment to duty. It was Elizabeth who had paved the way for Camilla's acceptance, who had declared her wish for Camilla to be crowned queen consort. Camilla knew that she had a powerful ally in Charles, but she also knew that he was caught between his love for her and his desire to appease his son. She couldn't rely on him to fight her battles. She had to stand on her own 2 feet to prove her worth and to demonstrate that she still had something to offer the monarch. The next morning, Camilla emerged from her chambers with a renewed sense of purpose. She would not go quietly into retirement. She would not allow William to erase her from the narrative. She would continue to serve, to support Charles, and to prove that she was more than just a figurehead. She was Queen Camilla, and she was not going anywhere. The game, as they say, was afoot. Her first move was subtle, almost imperceptible. She doubled down on her existing patronage, attending events with a renewed vigor, her smile perhaps a touch brighter, her handshake a fraction firmer. She visited the National Osteoporosis Society, not just to wave and offer platitudes, but to sit and listen, to truly engage with the patients and the doctor, her genuine empathy radiating outwards. Then came the literacy programs. Instead of simply reading to children, she started mentoring them, connecting with them on a personal level, sharing stories of her own childhood, her own struggles, her own triumphs. The press, initially skeptical, started to take notice. Here was Camilla, not fading away as predicted, but doubling down, proving her relevance not through grand pronouncements, but through quiet, consistent action. The narrative began to shift, ever so slightly. The image of the ambitious, calculating woman, the other woman who had haunted Diana's marriage, began to fade, replaced by the image of a dedicated public servant, a woman committed to making a difference. William, watching this unfold, couldn't help but feel a grudging respect. He may not have agreed with her past, but he couldn't deny her present dedication. He saw the crowds that gathered to greet her, the genuine warmth in their eyes, the palpable sense of connection. He knew that she was winning them over, one handshake, one story, one act of kindness at a time. But old wounds die hard. The memories of his mother's pain, the scandals that had rocked the monarchy, the years of public scorn were not easily forgotten. He still harbored doubts, still questioned her motives, still wondered if this was all an elaborate performance, a carefully orchestrated campaign to secure her place in history. The real test came during Charles's ongoing cancer treatment. As the king's health fluctuated, Camilla stepped up, taking on more and more of his duties, representing the monarchy with grace and dignity. She traveled the country, attending events, meeting with dignitaries, reassuring the public that the monarchy was stable, that the ship was still sailing smoothly, even with its captain temporarily indisposed. It was during this period that William began to see a different side of Camilla. a side he hadn't seen before. He saw her genuine concern for his father's well-being, her unwavering support, her quiet strength in the face of adversity. He saw her comforting Charles during his moments of weakness, her gentle touch, her reassuring words. He saw her not as a rival, but as a partner, a fellow traveler on this long and arduous journey. One evening, after a particularly grueling day of engagements, William found himself alone with Camilla in the king's study. The room was filled with the scent of old books and beeswax polish, the air thick with unspoken emotions. William hesitated, unsure of what to say, unsure of how to bridge the gap that had separated them for so long. "You've been remarkable," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. "With everything that's been going on, you've been a rock." Camilla looked at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of surprise and gratitude. "Thank you, William," she said softly. "Your father means the world to me, and I will do everything in my power to support him." A long silence followed, broken only by the ticking of a grandfather clock in the corner of the room. William knew that this was a turning point, a moment of truth. He could continue to hold on to his resentment, to allow the past to dictate the future. Or he could take a leap of faith, to embrace Camilla as a partner, to acknowledge her contributions, and to build a new future together. He took a deep breath and extended his hand. "Perhaps," he said, a hint of a smile playing on his lips, "perhaps we can talk more about the future, the monarchy's future, together."